Welcome, Dingo, to Nervous Rex. We are here, and let me preface this by saying if I seem a little groggy, I'm on antibiotics, and I had a little infection down on my left testicle. It sounds worse than it is. It was an ingrown hair that I tried to pop. Next thing you know, I'm in the ER. Next thing you know, they got me on pain medication and antibiotics, and I feel like shit, so that's why I might seem groggy. I love you. How are you?
What a strange place to get an ingrown hair.
I thought, okay, so a couple of my buddies, I guess we're going right into it. A couple of my buddies were like, oh yeah, I've had that happen. One of my buddies said he heated up a needle and popped it himself and drained it. So basically that's what they did. They popped it and drained it in. I'm not lying to you. It was the worst fucking pain I've felt in my adult life. I was screaming bloody murder in the ER. Anyway, so that's why I might seem a little out of it to you. How are you feeling?
Way better than you.
Good. Yeah, you look better than me too.
I wasn't in the ER this weekend at all. I've had no ingrown hairs of lately in that area. A few back pimples, but other than that, I'm good.
You live in LA now, right?
I mean, yeah, I don't like to say that, but I've had a place here. We used to be neighbors.
Yeah, that's right. We were. That's right.
Up in Mount Olympus.
I'd always drive by, and you always have the homies up there. Mount Olympus.
I always had the homies.
You did. It was always a bunch of cars out front. And I'd always see you as I drive by, because you were my shortcut home. I'd always see your place. You don't live there anymore.
No, I was out in Malibu for a while, and then went through a breakup, nearly got married, and then I've had a place downtown for 6 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Downtown? I don't see you as. I guess you're a downtown hustler. I could see that.
Yeah.
You're making moves. It's for your work and.
No, the office is right here. I can literally throw a stone and hit the office right here. So
Okay.
it's not for any reason. Listen, I think it happened because I was like gonna get married, and I like had moved to the beach, and this was gonna be my life. I had the dog, the girl, and then it all fell apart. So I got rid of everything, and I was like,
the dog too. You got rid of the dog too.
Well, the dog, I kind of like lost the dog to the relationship.
Got it.
She wanted everything.
Because you got the dog together, so it was sort of a child.
Yeah.
So are you okay? So single. I'm single too. I talk about a lot of guests that I have on here single. It's hard to have a relationship in this town and in general for me.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about that too. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more, man. Like I still have to travel a lot for work.
Yeah.
I'm 33 now, and like getting in every relationship I've got into here recently in the last like couple of years. It's hard to date here. They're not quite there. It's not that they're always looking for something better, which they are, but it's just like they're not quite present. You know, I haven't been out here in a couple of years. I can't associate with like I don't fit in with the young crowd here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you are still young, but I know what you mean. That like the next generation, it is a whole different fucking scene nowadays. And the cell phone generation, these girls are on their phone so much. I feel old when I'm around them because I feel old. Around these 22-year-old girls who are so beautiful to look at, but I can't hang out with them.
They are beautiful.
But there's the most beautiful women in the world here. But it's a head fuck because they're all here to make it, which is I did too. That's why I came here. We all came here to make it. So it's full of dreamers. Everyone come here it's like the gold rush. Everyone came to strike gold or be famous or whatever it is. So you get a lot of like-minded dreamers, but you end up, it's hard to date and find like one you bring home to mom's wife kind of.
It's very hard.
Very hard out here.
It's very, very, very hard out here. I've almost given up, you know, like I don't really know what to say. I get to spend a lot of time back in Australia, which is a good thing. And then I kind of foresee myself like in the not too distant future, like getting property somewhere like Montana or something. And
dude,
like,
that's exactly where I'm at. I want to buy some land somewhere beautiful in nature and get the fuck out of LA.
Yeah.
I got the RV, so I've been getting out of LA a lot lately.
I noticed that.
It's the best.
I know. There's nothing better than RV living. I have our original RV, a 93, 94 Winnebago. You should travel around on with snowboarding. And
so you'd live that life.
RV life, dude. I went RV life to bus life to like, I had a motorhome for like a solid like 10 years. I learned to drive in America in a 93, 94 Winnebago. Left that thing on fire on the side of the road in Montana because we had the new one, and then we had the old fun mover. So I'm all about like just being out in nature and cruising around.
Yeah.
I think I'm reaching a limit here though. I think that I'm gonna have to always come back here and work and do what I do, but I think I'm gonna start trying to spend more time. I used to think I wanted to do that on the beach.
Right. You mean just get a place out here at the beach?
Yeah, because I had that and I liked it. And,
right.
But like, I did a vacation recently. I went to Thailand for 10 days and like I listened to, I forget who it was. It was some podcast, and it was this doctor who was basically saying that we're too attached to this. And it's not just social media. It's like we have like dopamine on like text messages, on emails. I'm like, we're just overrun by our phone. So I did 10 days no phone, came back fully recharged.
Right?
Went and bathed elephants that like had been like tortured and like they're trying to like save elephant culture and elephants in general that have been like put into circuses or that have been like, you know, chained, whipped, and like so I went and hung with like elephants that have like been kind of freed. And they like live on these like farms out there and you can like bathe them, hang out with them.
You're just doing some real shit.
I was doing real shit,
I love
man.
that stuff.
And I want to get back to doing real shit more often. Like my goal is to like buy like a 1970 Toyota Land Cruiser and buy like 1,000 acres in Montana and like put like sick horses on there.
Oh, I love it. So I'm exactly where you're at. I'm actually on day 29, no social media. I deleted it all off my phone. I do this once a year. I take a month off.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I'm off of it and I feel so much better and happier because I'm not like constantly, you know, it's just such an addiction. I still text obviously and all that shit, but I deleted all social media and it feels like 2003 when we were motherfuckers would just hang out and you didn't be on your phone all day. And I feel happier. I feel happier and less stressed, less depressed.
But don't stop doing your little follow cam videos.
No.
That is
1 month off.
I live for that. I live for your follow cam videos.
Which one? The follow cam?
Like Hawaiian Henry.
Oh yeah. Fashion problems. Yeah, people love those. Just taking a break. I'll be back. I'm just doing a 1 month hiatus because I have an addictive personality.
I do too. I feel like we're so similar. Like we've known each other a long time now. I was trying to think the first time I met you, and we were talking about earlier from our friend Nate Bozong. I came to Sundance in like 2005. I think you were hooking up with Paris, maybe. And I met you in 2005 at Sundance.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was able to put a pin to it.
Yeah.
Later on in life, we have like the Cisco Adlers in the world, the people that like were just, you know, they're like our best friends. We have the same circle. And we were neighbors there for a while, and we've always kind of like bumped into each other and like hung, and like we have some friends that are like homies for life. So that inducts us to be like kind of homies for life. But I pinpointed it, dude. 2005 at Sundance was the first year I met you. I was a teenager.
And that's when Sundance was magical. I feel like it's lost the magic to me personally. It used to be, that's when it was special. Back then, Sundance was the best. And okay, well, let's go backwards a little bit. You started off snowboarding, which some people might not understand Australia. I've never snowboarded in Australia.
There's snow there, man. I got in an argument with Diplo about snow in Australia. I'm from Australia. He's from
Florida.
Florida. Yeah, there you go.
Or Philly or something.
Yeah, right. He was trying to tell me that there was no snow in Australia. I was like, dude, like we win the Olympics. I grew up snowboarding. It snows here. I was like, dude. He goes, I go to Australia all the time. I said, you go to Australia to play festivals in the summertime.
Right. In the 5 major cities. You've never gone up in... So where is the snow in Australia?
So the snow is kind of in the center. You got to picture America, take America out, and then you could almost take Australia and plant it on America, and it'd be the same.
Yeah, it's almost the same. Exactly, it's almost the same.
So we have a little area between Melbourne and Sydney, and there's a little our capital, a little city called Canberra. In the 70s, they didn't know whether to make Melbourne or Sydney the capital, so they built a city for like government. So it's an awful city.
Is that where you're from? What part are you from?
I'm from Melbourne. I grew up south of Melbourne on the beach.
And it's not Melbourne, it's Melbourne.
It's Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's Melbourne.
Right.
And then we have about 6 resorts that are all between Melbourne and Sydney. Mount Buller, Mount Hotham, Perisher, Thredbo. I grew up snowboarding. I came to America for the first time in like 98. I started competing in snowboarding pretty early on. I was junior national champion by the time I was like 11, and then junior world champion by the time I was, I don't know, like 13 or 14. I started training with the US team, had an opportunity to come to America, trained in Steamboat Springs, Colorado in 2000. Trained there for a year. My mom came over, sold everything, had the opportunity. She was actually working as a house cleaner in Steamboat Springs, cleaning houses. She didn't have a visa to get passed through, so she had to go back home. I had to move to Mammoth Lakes, which was kind of the mecca of snowboarding in 2001. I was enrolled into homeschool. I had family, friends that like who I'd met in Steamboat. Their son Joe Eddie, they'd moved to Mammoth. I literally like slept on their couch for like 2 years while going to homeschool, trying to make it as a teenager, which was super interesting times because I was living on the other side of the world, had left everybody I'd known, had left everything to try and chase this dream, right? And then when mom had to like get sent home, I had to like then again make that decision to like, all right, like, is this gonna work? Is it not gonna work? My brother had, you know, drug issues. My father had left us. So I kind of like, for me, not that I did. It was all I ever wanted to do, right? So I like toughed it out, and by the time I was 17, I was had made it as a pro snowboarder. We had then started Grenade Gloves, which was a snowboard apparel company.
Are they still around?
We sold it.
Okay,
we sold it like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But listen, again, I was never the best snowboarder. I was in the mix, and it was the time when snowboarding blew up in the Mecca. Like it was, we in 2002, Danny Cass, JJ Thomas, Ross Powers swept the Olympics. So the first Olympic sweep for winter in 52 years. So then from like 2002 to like 2008, 2010, snowboarding became like mainstream. Shaun White came into the mix, was on the cover of Time magazine. We had all these huge, that was when like corporate companies started like throwing money to especially snowboarding.
Right.
So we lived this like Mecca event, and in that time, we had Grenade Gloves. I got involved in media, so I was like hosting the US Open. I was snowboarding. We had Grenade, so I had this kind of, I had all these different avenues where I was kind of like able to pull money from and be like, all right, I'm the best snowboarder, but I can talk, and became like, by the time I was 19, I think I had hosted every major snowboard competition for every major network, and was like kind of controlling the media of like where snowboarding was going at that point.
Right. Yeah. You were the representative for it because you have a natural gift of gab. You're a good talker. You got style. You know your shit. You know what you're talking about.
But that was the number one thing.
I
was the first person in snowboarding, or one of the first people to break through that was actually a snowboarder from the trenches.
Right.
So they backed me. They weren't talking shit on me. They had my back. So
you were one of you were one of them. So it's not like, who's this guy pretending to be white Sal Masekela.
Exactly. And I could snowboard way better than him.
Yeah, me too. No, actually, I'm not sure if I could snowboard better than Sal. Me and him went to
it's not that difficult. He's a way better surfer.
Yeah, he's a good surfer.
He's a great surfer.
Yeah, I just saw him the other night. He's doing good, and he's I'm gonna have him on the pod as well. He's great, but he's really good. He's really good at hosting. Both you guys just got that thing, whatever thing is.
He was one of my like original mentors when I was a teenager, and it was coming at me. He was the one like kind of like I could get on the phone to him, call him, and he'd like talk me through it. And I've never really thanked him for that, which is kind of crazy because like when I was a teenager and trying to do what I do, all these people were like, cut your hair, do this, you want to do this, and he was one that was just like, no, like just keep doing you. And
let's thank him. We'll call him after. Now your hair is part of your whole image. Like I can't even right. You've always had the long hair.
Yeah. I shaved a mohawk in 2001 in my head. That was when we had Grenade had like just started. It was 2001. I shaved a mohawk in my head. The first real estate we bought was a gas station in June Lake, California. We took the risers out like for the risers for the cars, put a mini ramp in there, started selling product. The product we were selling was shit. We were throwing empty beer bottles and empty 40s and sending them these like product, like the first gloves, you like wiped your nose would bleed. It was, I don't know how we got away with selling product back then, but we did, and we did pretty well. For us, it was like a moment in time, and honestly, like we ended up having TV show, The Adventures of Danny and Dingo, that ran for 6 years.
Was that on Fuel? What was that?
It was on Fuel. That was on Fuel.
That was the go-to network.
That was the go-to network for what we were doing. And for our company, it was like we got paid to travel the world. We got paid to free market it. And it did really well for the brand. And it all kind of ended pretty quick too. Like, the show ended in 2012. We had some issues. We were young kids, like not really knowing what we were doing. So we didn't pay taxes for a while. We had some trouble with the government. Well, the tax issue or whatnot. We had like problems with like shipping. We had problems with our employees. We were just young kids at the time. We were literally teenagers and like, running like a multi-million-dollar business and had no idea what we were doing, which helped me later on in life. Right. But not then. You don't really know what you're doing, right? So I ended up falling into like a crazy depression.
Right. Oh, from what? Just from all of
it was 2009. I came here when I was 14. I came here in 2000. And everything kind of happened. I like set out to be a pro snowboarder, but I was supposed to go home and move back to Australia and like be a bricklayer or like a plumber, right? So that was like always in the back of my head, but everything happened so quick. And snowboarding, what we ended up falling into was, I would say it was the mecca of it. We were like the middle of like corporate was in there, money was coming like crazy. We had a company that people loved, and what happened with me is like, I didn't have somebody there coaching me through the process. No one was coaching anyone through the process.
Right. You guys were just sort of
people
left
were taking from us, but like people weren't explaining to us how this is done or how do you or how do you deal with this, or how do you not deal with this? And, you know, we had probably like 30 something employees. Everybody was taking from us. And I was proud too. So my family was proud of me. So I couldn't talk to them about my problems. I couldn't talk to my employees about problems. I couldn't talk to my friends about my problems because everyone was so proud. Right. But I was in this like super dark hole. And like 2008, the economy crashed.
Yep.
We had to lay off a bunch of people because we had to like, there was a lot of problems within the company. So we had to fix the company. We had to hire a CEO. We hired an outsider who then fired all of our friends. So then all of our friends, as soon as we stopped paying them, were like, fuck you guys. We're not your friends anymore, which hurt me.
Yeah.
Because they were my only friends.
Of course.
You know, so like I just fell into this like deep dark hole. I was filming a TV show, so I had to go on and put a happy face on. Yep. I still had a company. I was dealing with all this pressure at 22, 23 years of age, and nobody was there like coaching me through the process. So listen, it was an amazing time. But for me, it was also like one of my darkest times, and you know, I fell into a deep dark hole for almost a year, and it got to the point where I'd wake up every day and I was like, is this the day I'm gonna commit suicide and live that whole day? And the end of when I go to sleep at night, that was the last thing I thought about for a year.
So you considered it. It wasn't just thinking about it. You actually considered.
I actually tried it. So I ended up in hospital in 2000. It was like April of 2009. Came home and then ate a bunch of pills, a lot, and then flatline. My girlfriend at the time there was able to get me to the hospital. I was like throwing up like black tar. I don't really remember any of that. And I kind of like came to it back in the hospital. And that was my attempt, you know, like, and it was crazy because like then you have to like open up to your family about it, which is the hardest thing because that's heartbreaking to your mom.
Yeah, of course.
Heartbreaking to your dad.
Well, good for you for being honest about it. I'm so glad you obviously you're here with us now. And this is something that's a topic right now that's on the table. Finally, is depression and suicide and all these things that have sort of been a lid has been put on them for so long in society, and now people are talking about it. So I think it's good that you're having this conversation.
I think
a lot of people are in pain.
I think it's the most important thing. Like, and I think that like people of stature or athletes, or just because you're visibly and people know who you are and because you've had success doesn't mean your mental health is there.
Oh, if anything, it makes it worse.
It does, you know.
People could never understand what fame does to people. Like Jim Carrey has a quote. He goes, "I wish everyone could be rich and famous for one day to see how unhappy you are."
Yeah,
because it's fucking bullshit. People, that's what everyone wants to be, but then you get it. Because I've had a little moderate success in money, and I've had it. I'm like, this doesn't make you happy at all. Actually, quite the opposite. You don't know who your friends are. You know, it's not necessarily. I don't think people understand what they where they're getting into when they come to LA to be rich and famous.
Yeah, especially in this town. This town is like if you're on a high, the whole world's untouchable. If you're on a low, the highs are high here and the lows are very low.
The peaks and valleys are extreme.
The thing about like where we're at with mental health is that I love that people are now opening up about it, right?
Yep.
And it's like, for me, it was like, it still took a couple years. I still wasn't done with my problem to the point to where like I was still shy about it. And I'd met a guy named Mike Smith, who's now my partner on Find Your Grind with Nick Gross. And he was a #1 youth speaker. I met him through Ryan Sheckler's mom at the golf tournament
that we always do,
with Ryan. And this was maybe like 6 years ago. And at that point, I was living out in Malibu. We were getting ready to sell the company, and was done filming the TV show. And I'd stopped doing media stuff while I was filming the TV show. So I was like, almost like, all right, you're about to. I took like probably like 6 months off, and I was like, what do you want to do? Because I was 26 going on 27 years of age, and everything I'd done, it kind of just, it happened.
Right. That's my life too.
It kind of just happened. And for the first time I was like,
you didn't go after it,
no, why don't you, like the first time I wanted to like help people, and I didn't know how to do that. And I met Mike Smith at the golf tournament, and Gretchen explained who he was. So then I went and listened to him speak here in Huntington. He spoke at Huntington High. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska. And I sat in an auditorium, and he was speaking to 11, 12 graders, and he made the cool kids uncool and the uncool kids cool in the auditorium. That? The way he delivered his message, and I was like mind blown by like how he spoke to these young kids. So I got on a plane, flew to Nebraska to meet up with Mike, and was just like, man, like I don't know what you're doing. He's got a 30,000 square foot warehouse that's a skate park and a youth homeless drop-in, like a youth homeless like drop-in center, and he just was like just a really good guy.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I don't really know what you're doing, but I'm here and I want to help.
I love it.
And started going, high school to high school with him, and he started helping me prep for like a speech. So I started talking about my depression. And this was at the time when kids had seen me on the Adventures of Dan Dingo. They'd seen me on Ridiculousness or anything that like Dear Decker was doing in these things. So I was kind of relevant to high school kids at that time, right?
Yeah.
So like they'd see me and be like, oh, like it's. But I was there to like tell my story about depression and how I wasn't honest about it and how I should have reached out to speak to somebody. And knowing that there are so many kids out there in the same boat as me, and it's just you want your message to be heard. So here I am, like, in the middle of America, telling my story to kids, and without really knowing it, it was like giving me therapy. And I'm speaking to kids that were like sick.
Oh, that's great,
that have
man.
all tried to like commit suicide, and like going backwards and forwards. Some of these kids today I still speak to.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And
man.
it's once you're in, not a club, but like once you've had that feeling, it's hard to explain to someone that have never had that feeling. But if you are able to touch on other areas of like depression or mental health, that's all these kids want to be, is be heard, right? And then that was kind of like the start of where Find Your Grind kind of came into play for like what we want to do. And for me, it was more so about helping kids and delivering a message and saying there's a much larger world out there. You don't need to be like cookie cutted to like your test scores and to go to this college. And I think there's the way that the world works today is that there's so much job opportunities out there. You don't need to like go to school for 4 years. If you're going to become a doctor or a lawyer or, create an economy on Mars, go to school for 10 years. But there are so many. I've been working since I was 15 years of age. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't graduate high school because I started working as a teenager. But like I've successfully worked in so many different industries and different fields. Nobody once asked me for a degree.
Yeah.
So if we're able to show opportunities out there to kids and be able to build like and be able to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are and be like, hey, like here's the path you can go down and here are the fields that you're best suited for due to the knowledge we have on you, rather than being like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And kids are going to school now and getting a degree. That degree they got, they can't get a job, so they defer and go get another degree. So they're gone for like 8 years while the job world's just like shrinking.
Yeah. And I always said, how are you supposed to pick your major when you're 18 years old? You're supposed to say, oh, I'm going to dedicate the next 6 years to be like, how the fuck do you know what you want to do at 18? I'm 45. I don't know what I want to do next. How can you make that decision at such a young age? I never understood that.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And let's go backwards a little bit and talk about Find Your Grind. How did it start? And maybe we could talk a little bit about that and how people could check it out. And what is it exactly?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a self-discovery lifestyle platform helping young kids find jobs and career paths of jobs in the 21st century. There's essentially 4 co-founders. So Nick Crow's, his wife Natasha, are one side here. They had a foundation, a 501c3 that they had started here in Los Angeles.
Mean? What's a 501c3?
It's like a nonprofit.
Okay.
It's like a legislated nonprofit. Like you're 501c3 approved, which means you are approved through the government to be a nonprofit business. So they had started locally here in Los Angeles and were helping out. Doing smaller events at Nick's music studio and getting kids in. And then Mike Smith had his own program.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln, Nebraska. And he was going around talking to schools. He was partners with Jostens. And he is the number one youth speaker in the country. He does auditoriums of like 10,000 kids. And just seeing what he was trying to build and what Nick and Natasha there, kind of like bringing the team together and saying, hey, like, let's take this nationally and like, let's create. So then we created the Find Your Grind for-profit with Nick and Natasha and then Mike. And we started, the first year we took a huge tour bus on the road for, I think it was like 7 months. We did like, I think it was like 60 stops or on this bus, and it was started as a live event company. And as we started going along, we started seeing that there was a real kind of gap that needed to be put in, that we couldn't be at every school, but if we could create like a curriculum that we could give back to the school system, then Find Your Grind would live on through the schools. So now we have a curriculum that we give to the education system that's 180-hour platform with like 8 units, teaching you about lifestyle, teaching you about insurance, teaching you about taxes, teaching you about stuff you kind of didn't learn in school.
Nobody teaches you that, and that's what you're saying you wish you had. Maybe if someone would have taught you that,
exactly.
You might not have gone into that dark hole, because I feel like that's one thing you never learn in school is like how to deal with stuff in real life. And you got to find out for yourself, and sometimes some people can't handle that, and it's over,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, it was like we had like millions of dollars in taxes, and I was a 23-year-old kid, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go into a dark hole right now. I'm going to go in a dark hole right right now. I'm going to go in it every single day and not try and get out of it until I tried to kill myself. And then I still come out of it and was still in a dark hole. You know, and that's what people don't really understand. It's like you've got to work on yourself. So for me, it was hanging out and like giving back, but also it was in return it was giving me therapy, more therapy than going and seeing a doctor here and them just trying to get to like, you know, trying to weed out whatever it is.
Right.
And it was always like a game for me. So like I found that like my new calling of like hanging out and giving the future the help that they need was something that I needed to do, right?
Yeah.
And giving my knowledge up and being able to like package together like this super team. And, you know, now it's like we have the curriculum, we have a great team, we have some great partners. We have, you know, we have a live event now that we do in colleges called FYGU that's partnered with Amazon. We have the curriculum now that has like been launched. For me too, like going back to it as well, it's like the roots of where I want to get to is like create a mental health program that kids have to start doing from a young age.
Right.
I think kids need it. Kids need to be taught about mental health from a young age so they can either help themselves or help their family members or they're able to see it within a friend. And I think if we're able to start teaching them at a young age about mental health, like we teach physical education or we teach English, whatever it should be slated. And there's a few states now that have made it compulsory, but we need all 50 states to like be compulsory, and like it needs to be something that kids are taught at a young age, because right now we are losing so many. Like I lost my brother to suicide this year in like a super gnarly way, to where like I was speaking to him, I was with him. 10 days later, he's like called me and says it's quits, and he's got 3 kids and he had a business and he was 38 years of age. Chester was just had his 2-year reunion. Like for me, I'm like losing people that I've looked up to in my life, and I've dealt with it on my own, and I don't take medications or I do anything. I still deal with depression today.
Right.
You know, like I still deal with it, not on a daily basis, but there are still times throughout a month, or, you know, I go through a period where I don't want to get out of bed. I force myself out of bed, but I do these things and I do everything right, whether it's, you know, drinking a green juice or like going for a run or going on vacation or whatever it is. I still am able to do the things to get over it, but I still battle with it.
Yeah, what about, okay, let's talk about you not taking the medication, because I feel like that's one of the core problems, is that we're just putting a Band-Aid on it and not dealing with really the core issue, which is what you're saying. You want to get in these kids early so that they don't have to take some SSRI later that's going to fuck them up. And that's what the problem in America is, that most other countries don't self-medicate like we do and get handed out fucking prescriptions like Flintstones vitamins for whatever. Everything's all overdiagnosed. ADHD, this, that. It's like, here, take this. My mom wouldn't let me get on Ritalin when I was a kid because they prescribed it to me. Thank God she didn't.
I saw a number the other day, and it was just, to me, like, it didn't even make sense, the amount of opiates that they've oversold in this country.
Oh, it's a joke.
And they just try and Band-Aid everything. I'm addicted by nature. My brother was addicted. My brother started doing heroin at a young age, and that's something I never did, but he never beat that, right? So, like, he was an addict, and, like, we had him in facilities here in Mexico trying to fix himself, and he just could never get there. So he had these dark demons inside him, and he couldn't get over it. And I know that's in me, so I can't take medication. If you're going to put me on something,
good for you, man.
I'm going to get addicted to it, and then I'm going to abuse it. It's like anything in this life. So, like, I still deal with depression and mental illness every single day, and I just have to focus in on know when I have my issues and then get up there and power through it.
Well, giving yourself purpose and giving it to others is a really good start. First of all, that gives you something. They always say, you know, if you're feeling shitty about yourself, go give to the less fortunate and you'll feel better. That is true. Every time I've done that, I've felt better. Absolutely, 100%. And it seems like Find Your Grind is that on such a large scale. And I think mental illness nowadays, it's like this spectrum that it's so hard to say. Like, how do you I feel like so many people are on this spectrum and just to different degrees, and it was never talked about before, because I'm sure that I suffer from I'm sure I suffer. My dad had depression, my mom had depression, my uncle killed himself before I was born, my best friend committed suicide in my apartment in New York. It's hit home for me too, and I think finally it's being talked about, because it's just been, you know, kind of put to the side for so long, and a lot of people are in a lot of pain, and I wonder if it obviously you're Australian. I wonder if it has anything to do with this Western culture. I mean, other parts in the world I don't feel are as unhappy, dark days.
You know? I mean, I don't. You know what? I've never actually really kind of put my head on that one, because I'm here and I'm in Australia and I'm very immersed in the Western culture. But dude, it's like social media is like just fastened everything up. People people look at it and just like, oh, you know, everyone thinks they're a Kardashian or wants to be, and they think that's how you're supposed to live. And it's really like for young kids, like, you know, we got called into it, like the amount of suicide that we've dealt with young kids, and the amount that happens right now with young kids and happens on social media, you'd be sickened at like the number. And it's like, you know, I think that the Western culture has been fastened up, like the smartphone added on to these like pressures of like what social media is telling people to do or to look like. Just like the bar is set so high for everyone, and it's like, we're pretty fucked as a society right now.
We are, and you know, my buddy, he's a PhD and a doctor, and he's a really smart, best-selling author buddy of mine, Dr. Chris Ryan, and he said they've done studies in other parts of the world with mental illness, and he said there's something about America that's different. For instance, if you talk to somebody that's a schizophrenic in India or in, you know, South America, the thoughts that they have in their head every day are, I need to make the bed 5 times and walk around the block backwards 3 times. In America, it's like, I need to shoot the school up. Like, what's wrong with us? Other parts of the world, the mental illness, they don't have these negative cultural traits that make them go down this violent, dark path. Mental illness in other countries is more, it's not as dark, you know. They've actually done studies on this, and it's like, what's wrong with us as a culture? Is it video games? Is it the fact that our whole country was founded on violence? Is it that gun culture? I mean, there's so many things, but a lot of people are in a lot of pain, and I don't think the social media is helping, because comparison is the thief of joy. And you're just watching everyone's highlight reel, everyone's eating this good meal, jumping on a plane here, this and that, and you're like, why am I not doing that? And then you feel like shit, and you're taking pills, and you're fucking miserable.
Yeah,
it's a fucked up thing.
It is kind of crazy, you know, because like you think about even like downtown LA, like that's where I live, so I like.
Oh, you see it Skid Row all the time.
Yeah, man. There's like over 55,000. I think the last number on record is like 55,000 homeless people down there, and
Jesus.
And listen, like most of them aren't harming people, but it's when you think about that number, and I don't know, it's like, I don't know, people have just been pushed into these meds, or they just try and band-aid the situation with meds, and they try and put kids on meds at a young age. It's like crazy to me. Like, I never, going to Australia, like there was always like that one kid in your grade or the school that was like out of control.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, that kid obviously needs medication. Coming to America and then seeing like get put in class and seeing that there's like 10 to 12 kids on medication. Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
like,
your
what are we doing?
It's not as bad in Australia, but it's starting to be.
Suicide's bad there. Suicide's really bad.
But the pill epidemic seems worse here, but it's starting to become there too, because I notice every time I travel around the world, they'd be like, oh, you Americans are all fucked up on pills. We don't even have that shit here.
Yeah.
But I notice in Australia, a couple of my buddies who are from Sydney are like, oh, dude, like the opiate epidemic is hitting now in Australia too. Motherfuckers are getting them. It just hits
differently. Like their last wave of drugs was ice, and it was like athletes were doing it. Ice is like, it's like they're just smoking like cocaine rocks.
Yeah. Oh, the ice isn't meth there? Ice here is meth, isn't it? Or,
I don't know.
I thought ice was meth.
So no, is ice meth?
Well, in America, I know that's the slang for it. Like my buddy used to be a meth head, and he'd call it ice. So maybe it's different in different places. Just like smoking rock could be crack, or it could be meth. I don't know, but that's a whole nother one too.
But like they had like an epidemic there where there was like a generation of like 10 years where like athletes from the top down to like kids were just all fucked up.
Really?
And it might be methy. What's the other? It's
methy. I love how you guys put a Y at the end of everything in Australia. It makes it cute. Like now all of a sudden meth is cute. Like methy. Like watch the telly. He smokes some methy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is there, but that makes sense because it's so easy to make and cheap, and it's all over the world. Like even in Thailand and Indonesia, you see it everywhere. Like meth's everywhere. That's just like the easy street drug anyone can make. So that makes sense. So you were in Thailand recently, you were saying?
Yeah, I was there for 10 days.
And you unplugged?
I unplugged.
And how good does it feel to unplug? Isn't it amazing how it takes like 3 days? It's like a fucking drug. Like it takes 3 days to withdraw, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I don't need that shit. It's like, I feel great without my fucking phone. I love losing the phone for in like little increments of time, because you get to just kind of get back to basics. And if you're like, if most people are so addicted to their phone. Like I was having lunch yesterday with some buddies, and I swear, this is the problem. If there's ever a moment of boredom or ever a moment of people can't sit with themselves anymore.
No, they can't.
They can't. There's actually a famous quote by some philosopher that says, "Man's biggest problem is that he can't sit alone with himself in a room."
Yeah,
and that's really what's going on. And you know, like any moment of boredom or weakness, you go to your phone and stimulate. It's like you can't deal with shit.
Yeah,
and you just see it everywhere. And I'm guilty of it too. But I got to like make myself unplug. Like I literally have to delete the shit off my phone because I will just robotically sit there and look and scroll mindlessly. But I'll tell you this, I read 2 books since I've quit Instagram for 28 days. I wouldn't have read those 2 books had I been on Instagram.
I travel with books now too.
Good.
You know, that's why I took to Thailand. I took a couple books there.
What books?
I took. There's a guy that is like one of our app developers, Tyler. He wrote his own book, so cool. I read that. But then I also just read the Richard Branson.
I want to read
the Virginity one. It's really good, man.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I want to read that.
Because like I like have a lot of things. Like I've known that I've had a lot of things. Like I'm dyslexic and didn't know for a long time. He was kind of the same thing. It was crazy that he was dyslexic. The first company he created was a magazine called Student for college kids as a dyslexic man. So
that's
like
hilarious.
He's just relatable, dude. And he's cool.
Yeah, he seems cool.
He's like a go-getter and like.
Yes, but that's like you. You have that entrepreneurial spirit. You're a go-getter. You're a smart guy. Your brain works really fast. You know, you're more than just a physical snowboarding guy. Like you've parlayed your life into this other lane because you have that natural gift of gab. I don't think that's learned. I think you either got that or you don't.
I think that's very true.
It's the gift and the curse. Like that voice that keeps you up at night, that drives you crazy, is also what's made you sit in this desk right here with me because you've had a lot of success due to that brain, whatever you want to call it, whether it's crazy, whatever the fuck you want to label it. Because I feel I'm the same way. Like that voice that keeps me up at night is why I have been fortunate enough to like have some success because it's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy. It doesn't come without heartache, you know? It's like, for me too, like, it's always like, I love to create, and then not everything that you create works, right? So it's like when you fail, and I look to fail because when I fail you're succeeding. It's like back in the day though, if I failed, I was like, oh, it's the end of the world. No, like it's never gonna.
There's a book I just read called Hurry Up and Fail, and it's all about how failure, just like a fighter that loses a fight, they'll come back better the next time, and you can't win every battle. Look at it like baseball. Like if your batting average is 350 out of 1,000%, that's a very good batting average. So you have to look at life like not one big game, but a series of little games. And as long as you win most of those games, you're winning at life. You're not going to win everything. So those little failures, those little setbacks, you actually need those. Yep. So it's all about sitting in that the defeat, sitting in those moments of like when can you sit alone with yourself when times are rough? And I don't think a lot of people can. So it's good that you're spreading this message because a lot of people I think feel alone. And not to mention, I think a lot of people are so lonely, and we're social monkeys, man. We are meant to have community, and without community, people go fucking, it gets dark. And I can even say for myself, ever since I sold my house by your place and I moved to the beach, I don't have a lot of friends out there, and I'm spending a lot of time alone.
But that's good.
It is good.
I like that.
I do too. But
I like that.
But some people, I think they said the statistic was in like the 50s, 5% of the population lived alone in America, and now it's like 40-something percent live alone. And that's when idle hands are the devil's workshop. When you start kind of going, that's when people do drugs. That's when people get depressed. So yeah, there's a lot of factors, and how do you gauge it all? It's like, it's just, you can't just say mental illness. It's like, well, there's so many degrees to it.
There's so many degrees of mental illness. So it's like mental awareness, and like, that's why, like, it's not people will commit suicide for all different reasons, And I think it's like trying to understand like why that person did that on that instinct.
Right.
Or like, and I listen, it's only getting worse right now, but I think the more and more we talk about it, if we're able to like create these products that kids learn from a young age, I also think we're overpopulated.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Earth's overpopulated. Yep. So like, but by being overpopulated means that like, and I think that we're really starting to head down that like, the middle class is being divided. You've got your top 1% up here, and then the wealth, and then the middle class is kind of just being shoved into this like lower class kind of status, which is like not good for this country. This country was like built off that middle class working people, Yeah,
and also cell phones. These things right here were made to make us communicate better, but the irony is we're communicating less in person. Like, how often do you get to sit like this and have a one-on-one talk without your phone? That's why I love doing this podcast. I've known you for 15 plus years. We have never sat down and had a 45-minute talk without looking at something else or being distracted. I love connecting with people, and it's a lost fucking communicative form. Yeah. So it's nice to just be able to fucking put the phone off and talk with somebody, and it actually stimulates your brain, and you have a good conversation. And I'm really working on, I notice I'm guilty of this, I'm really working on listening better. Because me and you are both very loquacious. We're talkers. I was an MTV host, you're a host. We know how to just ramble. So I'm really working on listening and really listening though.
Listening's good though.
What?
Listening's powerful.
What? I'm just kidding. It is, man. And it's like we
Listening's
got 2 ears and
powerful.
1 mouth. So and I've been watching all these videos. There's actually techniques. You missed the joke. So it's important because.
What happens if we had 2 mouths and 1 ear?
Totally. Yeah. I'm working on it, and it's not just listening; it's really listening. But like, for instance, you could go on a 5-minute rant right now, and as you say something that's interesting to me, I'll be like, oh, I got to remember to respond to that. But then I don't want to just be thinking, oh, I got to respond next. I really want to listen. So I'm working on that muscle that isn't really used a lot because we're always just on our phone or you just talk. A lot of people are just waiting to talk. They're not really listening.
You're like redoing your interview skills.
Totally.
What interview skills did you have at MTV?
Well, I remember all they just said was this. When they hired me, they said to me, they said, Simon, you want to be a VJ? And I said to them, I'll never forget, I said, I have no journalism experience, I have no music knowledge, and I have no television experience. They said, perfect, you're the man for the job. Yeah. And then they told me, watch Bob Costas. They said, this is back in 1996. There was no
when
internet.
They were real.
They were real. And they said, watch Bob Costas on any interview. He asks a question and he shuts the fuck up. So when the camera's on the guest, you don't hear him going, oh, yeah. Just shut the fuck up and listen. And I still find myself, even in this interview, I've said to you, just like a natural thing to do. So I'm working on shutting the fuck up, but it's hard for me because my brain's like yours, like, especially with this coffee we just had, which is very good.
You're good. Like, I've listened to a couple of your things. You're definitely getting.
Oh, thanks.
You know what you're doing.
It's been 20 years since I've done this, and it's like it actually comes more natural than acting or I do comedy, music stuff. I just like talking to people, you know. And nowadays I've been so alone so much and on the phone so much that this is the only time I really get to sit down and have a deep talk is like something like this. So it's healthy. I think it stimulates the brain and obviously spreading your message for Find Your Grind and all these other things is just a good thing to do. I would love to help out more than just do this podcast. If there's anything I can ever do to help with like hands-on doing something with this, please let me know. I'm all about giving back lately. I just went the other day and cleaned up the beach. Do you know
what's crazy? Like I hike a lot around here, and the other day I was walking down from the Wisdom Tree. It's like everything now, overpopulated. So it's like Mount Everest coming down there. If you're in the back of the line, there's a single file.
Yeah.
So I was like 20th, back of the line. The guy in front of me was just picking up trash. His girlfriend was in front of him. She didn't know what he was doing. And because we were like stuck in this line, picked up a Q-tip. And I was like, that motherfucker just picked up a Q-tip. And then picked up trash as he was walking down. So there was no trash for me to pick up. And then puts the trash in the bin at the bottom there. And I was like, man, like, we need more people like that.
Yes.
We are in such a bad way. I did the plastic straw thing's been interesting for me because I go to some places and I'm like, why is In-N-Out Burger giving plastic straws? Starbucks gave up on plastic straws. I guess in America we utilize it's something like 500 million straws. 500 million straws a year or whatever it is.
It's crazy.
It's really bad, right? And then looking since the dawn of time, we've been putting trash in the ocean. And it was crazy because I was in Thailand on a private resort.
You saw it all washing up.
Trash blowing
Dude,
in.
I saw that too in Bali. It fucked me up, man. It made seeing all that plastic and trash on the beach in Bali made me so hyper cognizant of my plastic use that now if I go get a coffee to go, I instinctively say no lid, no straw. So they just give me the cup, and even that's wasteful. I try to bring my thermos
that's
around
biodegradable,
everywhere.
so that'll break
This
down.
is
But
different.
Starbucks is the leader. Starbucks said no more straws.
Yep, the sippy cups better.
Donald Trump made $200,000 2 weekends ago selling plastic straws with the name Trump on it to raise money for his campaign.
Yeah.
So it's funny. The Republicans always on that side, or the far right are always like, all right, we're saying that there's no climate change and plastic straws are fine. So he's gonna go. Yeah, this is the world we live in. But man, I look at it. And I look at, man, I like host NASCAR stuff for Monster, right? So it's like, I spend weekends sometimes and I'm just watching dudes fucking go around in circles and watching money be blown out, watching the oil business do what they do.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, man, cars won't even be relevant in 50 years.
Right.
The way that we're going, it'll all be battery powered. Yeah, they'll race battery powered cars.
Right.
But I just feel like we got stuck into a system a long time ago and we're not going to get out of it. The world's fucked. And I think that the reason that Bezos and Musk and these guys are you know why we're going out of space? They've got money that will outlive them and they can never spend it. So the money that they have that they want to spend, they're going to try and create economies and build infrastructures that work in outer space, because I think eventually the world we live in will just become a place where they come and get resources and then leave, and this will become like
it's crazy. We might be a multi-planetary species. That's a real thing.
It's going to be.
It's going to be
if we get there.
Yeah, if we get there, which I don't think it's going to happen in like your and my lifetime.
Absolutely not.
But it's 100 years ain't that far away, dude.
It's not.
And that's when I mean we're watching this shit start now. It's like I just know like I've noticed just personally how just the weather's changed, the patterns,
Well, you're a surfer guy. I'm a snowboarder guy.
Well, I don't really surf, but
it's still you don't. You just love the culture.
Yeah, I just love the culture.
It still snows. We still have winter.
Yeah,
it's like it's not that it's not snowing, but it's like that. Like the ice caps are melting out. And that's true. Ocean levels are rising. We're like, think about all the food. Like, we wonder why sharks are coming closer and closer and closer. Think about the food. We're taking food.
Right.
We're taking their food every single day. So the ocean is like, there's less and less food for them to eat. So these like man-eating sharks are now like coming closer because there's nothing else for them to eat in the ocean. It's like
we're fishing out all the ocean. Yeah, they said like sushi in 50 years is going to be such a novelty that it's going to just be like it's already expensive enough, but like it's just going to be not even a thing.
Yeah.
Because we fished the fuck out of everything.
We fished the fuck out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a trip. And I'm a big sushi fan, so I don't want that to happen.
Just eat up now.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy that shit now. Yeah, dude, this is all obviously the big picture stuff. It's so frustrating because it's like, what's the end game and what can you... I always say, like, what are you going to do about it and how does it affect your day-to-day life? But you are doing something about it, which is very admirable, and I want to start doing more stuff. Even, like, it's so crazy. Just like the other day, walking around Santa Monica with a bucket and a glove and just picked up about 4 pounds of trash and threw it away. I felt so much better.
How good do you feel?
I felt great. So in a weird, ironic way, I feel better about myself, but I didn't do it with that intention. But my whole day was a little bit better because I'm like, you know what? I just cleaned up the fucking beach.
And that's what, if everybody, like, and I feel like none of us, not one person is going to fix world problems, and we live in a really fucked up world. But if you can pick something that you like, that you put your time to while you're here to better the world or better people or do what you can do, it's going to make yourself feel better. We're not going to fix the problems, So for me, it's like, I'm like now part of this like family that has like lost a family member to suicide, has dealt with like depression. And so I give my time to that because that's the thing I want to give my time to, because it's relevant to who I am and it makes me feel better talking and helping people that have depression or trying to create awareness. And that's it. I just kind of like unfortunately fell into that, but that's what I'm here to do, and being able to have a curriculum that lives in the education system and being able to showcase the kids, the future generations of job possibilities. You feel like you're helping out, and you are helping out. I sleep better at night knowing that that's where... Listen, I wasn't always like that. You met me when I was 21, 22. You've known me a long time.
We were just partying. Yeah, we were just selfish. But that was our age, and it's okay. I'm just glad we're here now. I'd rather be this cliche doing what we're doing now than the other cliche, which is still partying and being an idiot.
It's so crazy. It's like not what can you do for yourself, but what can you do for others. And when you start doing people for others, what you get in return is way bigger than ever doing anything for yourself. And it took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah, but you're actually not that long because you're still in your early 30s. Like, I'm 10 years older than you, and I'm just getting there now. So you're actually ahead of the curve a bit. Most people, when I was your age, I was still just being a selfish prick, just chasing the party, having a good time. I wasn't thinking about any of these things. But for the first time in my life, I'm just being aware of my actions. I just want to keep my side of the street clean. It all starts with you. If you just start with yourself, and everything else kind of follows. Some people I think are a little too overambitious and trying to save the world. It's like, start with you. You know what I mean? Start with yourself. I think everything else will take a natural path from there. And it's not bad if people want to like go save the world, but it's start with yourself, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what you did.
But it's just like starting simple. Don't to go to Starbucks and don't take a lid or don't take a straw or like just
those little things add up.
It's just the everyday little simple things will help us, but it's a rough world out there.
It is a rough world. Now, how do people how do listeners and viewers find Your Grind, and how can they be a part of it, or how does that work?
The app, download the app, just go to the App Store, Find Your Grind. No, there's everything. So findyourgrind.com. On all social medias, it's just at Find Your Grind for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. The app, Find Your Grind, all free. You can download all the content. Everything there is for free. The website. So it's just everything at Find Your Grind. Dude, don't worry about me. Just go there.
That's great. In a weird way, maybe in the bigger picture, it was good that you had to go through the pain that you did, because now look what the end result. You wouldn't be here right now had you not gone through that dark pit.
Absolutely not.
So you made a sacrifice.
It was a huge sacrifice, and like now, like I've got friends that are like coming out of being pro athletes in like mid-30s, and these kids, these guys and girls have like lived extremely gnarly lives, and it's not that their finances are not there. It's that like they're coming to me now and they're like, I'm 34, 35, and what happens is when you've been a pro athlete your whole life and then paychecks stop coming or whatever happens, your identity gets taken away.
Absolutely, man.
And like that's why we're dealing with so much on that side of it too. It's like it's not that they're, again, it's got nothing to do with finances. It's that their identity's taken away. And if you take away a human's identity, you're dealt with like strife and chaos, and like that's why we need to, you know, kind of like try and understand of like, you know, another thing that, you know, we've been working on is really trying to like help like phase 2 or what's phase 2 or 3 of like these people's lives look like. So when it's taken away, they can fit back into regular society and because that's where I came through. You know, I grew up in this like fairy tale sports world and was a kid and was babied, and then at 23 had my breakdown, went through severe depression, still came out of it. Now in my 30s, I'm like, all right, I'm solid. I know who I am. I'm comfortable with myself. I found my new identity.
I love it.
But like,
and I see it. Your energy's great, man. You seem really good, and I know like, you know what I never understood when people are like, are you happy? It's like, well, what do you mean? I was until you asked me that, first of all. And it's like happiness is a fleeting emotion that comes a few times a day if you're lucky. It's not like you're just happy all day. It's like, I never understood when people would say that. It's like, well, I don't think it works that way. But it's not about happiness. You just seem like you have a purpose right now. You seem really clear. You seem really good. So I'm very proud of you, and I love what you're doing.
Thanks,
and absolutely. So even though you had to make some sacrifices along the way in the bigger picture, this was, I think this is what was meant to happen. It was already written, you know?
Yeah.
I believe that kind of stuff. Let's end on this note. I'm trying to work on my Australian accent, and you may have lost. You're still 50-50 Australian.
I don't know
American.
what I am.
Yeah, it's touch and go. So I was working on. I'm working on how to say no. Is it nar? No. How would you spell no? I know, but how would you spell nar?
No.
Is it okay?
No. I guess you'd probably spell it N-O-E.
Nar.
No.
Nar.
Go fuck yourself.
Does it sound good? Nar.
No.
Is that good?
Say Melbourne.
Ask me, did you get laid today?
Did you get laid today?
No.
Does
that sound good?
No. Say get a dog up ya.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's just like a slang. Get a dog up ya.
What does that mean?
Get a dog up ya.
What does it mean?
Get a dog up ya.
What does it mean?
I don't even know what it means.
Dude,
they say
Australian slang's the best.
They say it on the footy field.
Wait, what about this one? I remember hearing the story. You probably heard this one. There's like this chick. This like all my surfer friends have told me the story that a guy was hooking up with a chick,
Sheila?
and she was. No,
girls are
Sheilas. No, but she said he was like, I guess she was having her menstrual cycle, so she goes, "Oh, just chuck it in me, dump 'em, mate."
Yeah, that'll happen.
That's a good one. Chuck it in me, dump 'em, mate.
Australian girls
they're like dudes.
Yeah, they are like dudes.
I learned that real quick.
They walk off and you like dudes too.
Dude, well, so check it out. My first time in Australia, I lived there and I was doing a TV show out there, and I remember I meet this girl, and it was my first fucking day there, and I meet this beautiful girl, and all the girls there are gorgeous and fit and just like but they're like dudes, and not in a bad way necessarily, but they just think like guys. And I remember I hooked up with this beautiful girl, and then the next day I see her out at the same place, Fishos, which is in Gold Coast, and she's like making out with some dude, and I didn't even care, whatever. And she's just like, yeah. I was like, hey, you left your shirt at my place. Good move. She goes, mate, I didn't leave it there on purpose. We shagged. We're already done, mate. I'm finished with you. And walked off. I was like, oh my God, I just got like that. I just got rock starred by some chick. She's like, mate, I'm done with you.
I'm done with you.
I was like, holy shit. I was just shocked, and I wasn't mad. I was just like, that's how it is out here.
Yeah, it's a complete difference here.
It's so different.
Here you've got to like wine and dine them and send roses and flowers and all shit. They just get in, fucking get out.
Yeah, which
chuck it in me dumper.
Chuck it in me dumper, mate. What's up? Let's do a couple more Australian lingos, and then we'll call it. So what are some of the other ones? She'll be right, mate.
Yeah, she'll be right.
She'll be right.
That's
What's
good.
some other ones?
She'll be right.
She'll be right, mate. And what was it?
I have a funny one for you.
Tell me one more.
No, not a funny one. I had Alec Baldwin FaceTime me once.
Oh.
FaceTime me and just speak straight Australian.
What do you mean?
He like put on an Australian accent.
Was it bad?
It was horrible.
Oh,
so I had
God.
to be like...
You had to tell Alec Baldwin it's horrible.
I'm like, dude, your Australian accent's not that fuego.
I love it, dude. Dude, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on.
I love you, man.
I love you too. And then Instagram is the Dingo Show. What is it?
The Dingo and Snow.
The Dingo and Snow. That's right.
Yeah.
Dingo and Snow, and other social media, Twitter, all that shit. Same. Everything.
I think it's all the same.
Yeah, people will find you. So everybody go check out Find Your Grind and get involved any way you can. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
All right, bro.